You know what time it is, Vortex. It's brew time. It's also time to change the Miles Davis CD. Okay? We've been listening to this CD extensively. I just want you to know. I'm putting it back in the case. Okay? This is what happens if I love an album. It breaks. It's his wife. I don't know if he divorced her. I should know that, but I don't. But yeah, I have 3 more. This is one of my personal favorites, mainly because of the track 1, Springsville. This album is really, really good too. I think this album is really underrated. But, you know, everybody knows this one. Let's just put this one on. But yeah, Someday My Prince Will Come is my favorite. But this one's pretty well known. Enjoy this. I'm gonna go check something. I just had to make sure that my car was not leaking fluids again. I have all these stains on the floor of my garage, so I get paranoid. You know, Vortex. You know how paranoid we are. Without any help from a vehicle. But yeah, I just had a lot of work done on my car too. So I got the back panel fixed because I smashed that motherfucker into a guard hill. And I'm going to put on my seatbelt. Just because I don't feel like that little dinging sound overriding the glory of this album. But every time that I say I'm going to leave my house early, I never do. It's very rare. Like, if I leave the house, when I tell myself I'm going to leave the house, it's because something happened, you know? Somebody died. I'm just in a really weird mood. Because I'm just not the type to ever leave my house when I say I'm going to leave my house. Maybe if I just say I'm going to leave my house late. Maybe I'm going to leave my house 20 minutes later than what I tell myself. If I just reverse psychology myself But I don't think it would work if you know. Like, if you're aware that you're doing it, it's probably not going to work as well. You know? But yeah, I've been trying a lot harder to keep my car up to spec, because it's just too nice of a car to trash the way that I typically trash everything I own. I hate that I'm like that, but at the same time, I think that accepting myself, that makes a lot more sense than getting mad because I'm not like everyone else. And because of that, I would be more accommodating to the way that I am, you know? Because if you fight it, then it's like you're just insisting on lying to yourself. You're insisting on this gaslighting attempt that you know is probably not going to be a success. Another BMW. I don't just notice other Mini Coopers, I notice BMWs now. Because I know that we come from the same parents. This little bugger. He's just so adorable. I need to name this one too. Maybe I should name him Brewback. Ooh, I just ran a red light. I guess it's good because the person behind me did too. If I hadn't read that red light, I would have gotten rear-ended and then I would have been really fucking mad. But I can understand why people think this is his best album. Because it really is just fucking impeccable. You know, I'm probably going to switch back to color, but every single time that I do this black and white, it just makes me so happy. I get more excited to watch the video, all because of the way that I'm filming it. You know, it's very like noir, and I don't want to use a term like that because I'm not anywhere near as much of a film snob as somebody that uses the word noir. So I was watching this comedian last night, this very like LGBT comedian, and she's a lesbian that I guess is identifying as a trans person because she got top surgery and had her tits chopped off, which, you know, that we disagree with such an endeavor. But unfortunately, in cases such as this, it really is my body, my choice. You know? When you have all these different people pushing that sort of thing, you can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be more and more popular, even though it's not logical. It makes sense that that would appeal to people that are already in that community. So I guess that's why I exist here in America, because my gender identity is very questionable to many. Not to me. I know I'm a girl. Like, it's so weird to me that people are, like, confused about that. Like, how can you be confused about your identity? It's your identity. You know? Like, I guess I just don't stay thwarted for very long. So, like, if I'm persuaded by a particular idea, or maybe I'm influenced by somebody whose music I wish was mine, you know? I was a diehard fan of Ani DeFranco. I don't really listen to her that much, but I mean, I still really respect her as a musician, as an artist, and everything. I think she's a fucking badass. But, you know, there are plenty of musicians that don't fit the mold. I mean, that's why they're an artist. And I think that for people that, you know, aren't comfortable in the skin they're in, it's like the only option other than suicide is to make stuff, you know? And that's why you have so many queer artists. But I don't think the solution is, like, to be more accepting of that sort of thing. I actually think it's having the opposite effect. Because not only are you going to have all these people grifting and pretending that they're gay, I mean, if that were the case, like, the art would be so much better, wouldn't it? That's my theory. But you see a lot of male artists that are stereotyped, and people think that they're gay, but they're not. They're just self-expressive. But since that's a female thing, the P brands of our society that don't know what art is and they don't know what it's for are just gonna assume that that person has a completely different identity because they just don't understand what they're doing, you know? But you're never gonna get me to go along with the sexual degeneracy. There's a reason why I became Orthodox. So, I'm really happy about it too. You know, because it's like if I start identifying as a eunuch, it's going to confuse so many people. But maybe I should. Maybe I should. Because I do think, I mean, somebody had reached out to me, and they had said something about the Bible verse that I always reference. And they were like, there are plenty more of us out there. But I would say that, of all the people that you see pushing this pride crap, and I was thinking about it, why don't they just push lust? I mean, lust would make more sense than pride. But I guess they're trying to make a point about how they're not ashamed to be queer. I don't think you should be ashamed. But pride is a bit of a stretch. I mean, that's a lot of a stretch. To go from, I'm not going to be ashamed of this anymore, you're not going to make me feel bad about something that
just a part of myself. But I think a lot of them, you know, it is a much deeper thing, you know, because sexuality has everything to do with gender. I'm trying to find another way to talk about this. Because I think it's really important that, you know, we continue to have open, honest conversations about subject matter that is really difficult for the general public to talk about without having a panic attack or yelling at somebody. And I don't want to be hateful or accusatory or anything. But I think that if I was, I probably wouldn't have people reaching out to me and telling me that they're also a eunuch. And we have basically how do I describe it? Look at that top. I'm gonna take, well, actually no, I can't take a picture of it because it's black and white, but I think it's really beautiful though. It's still beautiful in the black and white. Anyway, back to what I was trying to say. I think that people like me that are just loners according to society, but it's like, I don't see it that way. I have God with me everywhere I go. And because I'm not like everybody else, and even though I might be like biologically inclined to have sexual intercourse that leads to making a baby, it's like that's still there. But because psychologically I can't even imagine myself doing that, then it's like I really have no other option but to believe wholeheartedly in God and to just cling so close to that relationship. And I know how that sounds, like to the outside world and to the general public, it most definitely sounds like a cope, because they can't accept the fact that not everybody wants a partner. You know, not everybody wants a crowd of people following them around. Ooh, another Mini Cooper. That's a convertible. But yeah, I think that if we lived in a society that was just like, okay, you're not a typical woman, that's fine, you can stay over there. Or, you're not a typical man, that's fine, you can stay over there. You can be yourself, but just stay over there. That would be ideal. Don't kill us, don't hurt us, just leave us alone, damn it. Well, the issue is that a lot of those people don't want to leave anybody else alone, okay? Which is why I don't think that they actually really belong to that identity group, because that identity group typically just wants a place where they can be themselves and they don't have to worry about judgment and they don't have to worry about offending people and, you know, being accused of a bunch of shit that they're not doing. All because, you know, typical run-of-the-mill people don't understand what they actually are doing, you know? You see this all the time with so many things, not just, you know, sexual degenerate behavior. But, yeah, I just want to be left alone. And it's like the people that actually like me. I mean, if they're empaths like me, they'll understand why I need to be alone. But it's just like, they just want to make demands. And they expect you to want the same thing they do. I guess because they don't understand, like, why anyone would want to be alone. Like, they look at somebody like me like we're so pathetic, you know? Like, don't you get lonely? Sometimes, but very rarely. When I was younger, I think the whole reason why I developed borderline personality disorder was because I couldn't accept the fact that I was just nuts. Like, and nuts in a way that society didn't understand, and so I became nuts in a way that society promotes. Does that make sense? I mean, you know that I think that all women are some kind of cluster B personality subtype. But then you get somebody like me that wants to break that mold. And you know, it's like if you call it out for what it is, people will always say that, oh, you just hate those people, and because they can't take criticism. But society has to be criticized in order for it to get better. People have to be criticized in order to improve upon their behavior. And if you don't understand that, you ain't much of a person. You're just a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, I've said this before. I just keep repeating myself, don't I? But thank you for the turn signal, Chevy. That's just the best, when people communicate in a way that's not unnecessary or like rude. It really is like the simplest form of communication. Just a little blinky. It's just a little blinky. That says, I'm going this way. I want you to know. I want you to be informed as to what I'm doing. It's funny, I could never really do that when I was younger, though. It was so hard for me to communicate, like, little things like that. The turn signal, easy. Easy peasy. But you know, just calling somebody and telling them that I'm gonna be late, or just being honest about the fact that, you know, I'm not interested in doing something, and then I just don't show up. You know, this one time, this was a long time ago, I used to work at Goodwill. This was in my early 20s. I think I was like 21 or 22. And I worked at Goodwill. And there was this lady that came in all the time. And I'd always tell her to have a blessed day, because, you know, I'm a very spiritual person, so I use spiritual terms. I always have. I wasn't a Christian at the time, but she was. And she invited me to her church. Now, she was an older black lady. And I told her that I was going to go. I didn't want to go, but I told her I was. And I didn't show up. And I felt really bad about it. And the next time I saw her, I was like, hey, I'm sorry that I lied to you. I'm sorry that I said I was going to do something I didn't do. But I'll be honest with you, like, I'm not a Christian, and I should have just told you that. And she was like, well, that's okay. I still want you to come. You don't have to. I'm not trying to pressure you. But I appreciate you telling me that. So I ended up going. Needless to say, I was the only white person there. It was a small, like, Church of Christ. The preacher was, like, yelling the majority of the time. But I was there until, like, 6 o'clock that night. It was an 11 o'clock service, okay? I was there until 6 p.m. because they insisted upon it. They insisted upon feeding me because that's what they do. Apparently, black churches, not, I mean, I'm assuming it's probably not all of them, but a lot of them do that. It's just an all-day thing. They worship, they eat. They worship, they eat. They worship, they eat. Which kind of explains the obesity problem with that race. But anyway, yeah, it was good food though. Good food. Soul food. A lot of fried chicken. It's a stereotype because it's true. They eat a lot of chicken. Not all of them. CJ doesn't. I was just thinking about CJ. CJ, she's one of my favorite people in Nashville. She's a black woman that she used to host this mic. Oh, it was such a good mic too. It kills me. It was in not that great a part of Nashville. It's called 1045. Back in 2021, I did more comedy than I've ever done in my entire life. And she's a very, very attractive, extremely loud black woman. But yeah, I just remember her saying that she doesn't eat chicken. That she's one of the only black people that doesn't eat chicken. That's why I mentioned her, because I was like, oh yeah. Not CJ. But see, right there, like, I'm just making statements. I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm not trying to be rude. But I get how that sounds, though. Like, whenever you say something about an entire group of people, that's just really ignorant, you know? Even if it's true. Like, it doesn't matter how true it is. It's like you sound ignorant because you sound like you're just painting everybody with this broad brush based off of identity. But as wrong as it might be, that brush is usually accurate, okay? And, you know, my intentions are good, too. I understand that most people that paint with a broad brush, you know, they're not doing that for the purpose of making the world better. They're doing that for the purpose of, like, using that as an excuse so they can stay away from people, you know? That's not what we're gonna do, okay? I promise I'm not like them, man. But I really can't stand that. I mean, everybody's judgmental. Everybody has, you know, preconceived notions about things. And it takes a bigger person to look past all that, you know? But it doesn't make much sense to be mad about any of that stuff, though. Mainly because it's not going to change those people. If you really want to change those people, prove that you ain't the stereotype.